Landscape Architects meeting to order at 9:32. Board members present currently are Janice Parker and Dom Saltruda and Mark Aragoni. I guess before we get started, if I can just ask our trustee staff if they have heard anything from Sigrun Godwa as far as her attending to be sworn in to her new position as a public member, because we know she was invited the last 2 times, I think, maybe. And I know she didn't make it in November, but have you have any luck with talking to her or reaching out to her?
I haven't heard anything, unfortunately. I can send another email.
Yeah, I guess maybe I need to reach out too, because we were excited to have another public member, but if she's not going to be actively involved, then we will look to move to try and find somebody else. Which leads me to my next question. I missed it on the information that you sent out, but Phil Barlow is no longer a member of the board. He officially resigned. I think he sent a letter in October saying his last meeting, or he would be officially done in 2025. I missed it. I apologize, but we should remove him from our current board members, and we should be looking for a new board member, which brings us to item 1, which is the review of the meeting minutes. The only thing I just want to highlight is we did talk about it, and if any of these board members, Janice or Dom, have somebody that may be interested, and then that goes to DCP staff. If we have a library of people who have submitted applications to be on the board, this is the time we should be trying to fill Phil Barlow's time. So item number 1, review of meeting minutes from November 13th. Dom, Janice, do you have any comments on those?
I have none.
Janice?
I will rack my brain. I didn't know to look for one, but I think I can call at least 3 people off the top of my head.
Yeah, first things, let's make a motion to approve the minutes. If one of you wants to make that motion to approve our November 13 minutes.
I will make the motion.
Second.
Janice, second. All in favor of approving those? Aye.
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 Okay, good. Item 2, do we have anybody else in the waiting room or any comments?
I think we can make comments right now.
Yep.
As one of my primary goals was to fill this board, and now we are having a few vacancies.
Yeah.
I did reach out to the ASLA Advocacy Committee saying if they had anybody that they thought interested, so they can obviously perform those applications. If we don't have people in the wings, my goal is to try to keep us as full as possible. Mm-hmm. Also within that, I know David Isaacs applied last year, and I think he was denied. However, he's still interested, and he is now retired as of, I think, December.
Public member, Dom, or
public member, correct.
Okay. Yep.
So he was a little taken back because he really didn't get any sort of feedback from his application, according to him. But maybe he reapplies. I don't know. I'm surprised he still wants to contribute, which is nice. But he is retired now, so he has no ties to Pittsburgh Paint, which I don't think was a conflict, my personal opinion, but they had an issue there. So to try to fill both the private, the public, members and the licensed membership.
So I guess the question, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, if you guys want to if you have contact information for anyone that's interested, if you want to send it to me, I can get it over to Tom at the governor's office, since they manage the appointments, but I can certainly pass along some information too. So.
And can you ask Tom if he has any that have been sitting up there, or if there is this repository of people who have applied, because now we do have that licensed landscape architect, which I think is critical. Public board members critical, licensed board members hypercritical. to keep those
Yeah,
filled.
absolutely. I'll ask for an update on that. I
Thank
know
you.
I know I provided him the update with Mr. Barlow, so I know it's kind of on his radar, but I'll see if I can get some more information for you guys.
Let the record show
Great.
Maureen just joined.
Hi, Maureen.
You're on mute,
You're
Maureen.
muted.
So can I just clarify? We do have a licensed professional
Opening.
that wants to be on the board?
We don't know yet.
We don't know
Okay.
yet.
We don't know if there is applications sitting in the governor's office because,
Okay,
DCP staff does not manage the appointments. It's a little convoluted how it works, but that's how it works.
okay.
So for the record, Maureen Nicholson, public member, has now joined the
Good
meeting.
morning. It's a slow day.
Dom, anything else? So we're on item number 2, Maureen, just comments and concerns.
Yeah, the only other thing I'll bring up is a bill is in committee, which is good, bad, or indifferent, that wants to, it looks like, and maybe the people from the state have some information on this. It's looking to, and I'm going to paraphrase this, dissolve the fees for our licensure.
Interesting. I would say let's keep that thought process going, and we can probably add it to 5D.
Yep.
Just because I think that's going to be an agenda item that we keep on our task list for 2026. If you remember, in end of last year, we said, hey, this is something that we need to start figuring out, all the statutory stuff. And we feel like we're working as a board kind of in limbo on some, maybe we just add that down when we talk about it, item 5D.
Yeah, fine.
Perfect. Okay, item 3, DCP Investigation Division Complaint Status Report. I believe we have Ms. Hamill who can give us an update.
Yes, I can, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Quickly, with regards to Mr. Seltruda's concern about a bill, any questions about that would have to be sent to DCP Legal and our legislative liaison. That would be, the liaison is CJ Strand, and Caitlin Anderson is the legal director. So you would want to pose any questions to them to see if they know any information. From what I understand is that bill, sir, is being proposed from the outside. It is not a DCP bill.
Oh, no, I'm aware of that. It's introduced
Okay.
by about 9 or 12 senators have introduced it.
Yep. So you might want to just reach out to CJ Strand. He's our legislative liaison, and Caitlin Anderson is our new legal director.
Oh, I appreciate
So-
that. Thank you.
No, you're quite welcome. Now, with regards to the spreadsheet, every board, with 1 or 2 exceptions, that I report to for investigations for complaint handling or site inspections and where we are and what we're doing, I run a report that's based off of what our IT group has created, and I run it every 2 months in 2-month cycles, because that's when you usually meet. So for this particular cycle, November 1st, 2025 through December 31st of 2025, I realize it's small and there's not a lot of information. When a file is open and under investigation, boards are not entitled to get any information until we're finished and we tell you what we did with it, like there was no issues or it was a civil matter, or if the investigator found that there were licensing violations, then a report is written by that investigator. I will take it, I will forward it to the legal department, and then they will determine what's the next step. If they're licensed, there's a compliance meeting at legal. If it's not settled at legal, then it comes to you as the member board, the licensing board, for an administrative hearing. And in which case, again, it's still not closed. You haven't acted on it. We haven't closed it. It will not show up. It will always show as it's an open file. It will only show up when it's closed. And when it's closed, that spreadsheet would then have, oh, hang on. I'm gonna minimize you all so I can go across for the sheet.
That's fine.
Okay, sorry. And
No, you're fine.
and my wonderful laptop is telling me it has automatic updates coming, so I'm gonna try to do
Great.
this fast before it like shuts me out totally.
Been there,
So-
done that.
Yeah. So the division would be professional because you're you're not an occupation, you're not one of my tradespeople on a construction site. You are a profession. Then it would say the file number that we have. It would say the board, this would be landscape architecture. Then it would have an issue, what's the complaint against them, unethical conduct, unlicensed, licensed, has an unlicensed person working for them, whatever. Nature would be, how did we get it? Is it an anonymous complaint? Is it a third party? Did it come in from the building department? Did it come in from an association? Or is it a consumer who had an issue and we would investigate that? Site inspection, the spreadsheet and the reports are based on both the professional side and the occupational side. Site inspections are what my staff and I do when we go running around on the construction site saying, hi, how are you? Can I see your license? Can I see your apprenticeship card? So there would not be any site inspection per se on the professional side. Status, is it open or is it closed? When did we get it? That would be the date created. When was it closed? That's the date that either the investigator closed it because it's a civil matter, or it's no issue, it's a dispute of facts, or it would stay open until such time as legal had that compliance meeting and did a settlement, or the board had the hearing and you voted and you came up with a final decision in order. A person by statute only gets a compliance meeting if they are licensed. If they are not licensed, then that would be a report that goes to legal, and then it goes through the process, and legal would then present to you an administrative hearing for an unlicensed person. The age would be, when did we get it? When was it closed? That was what's going to show. Respondent is, what's the person's first and last name? Okay. It will show their credential number. And then the next two pieces, it's hard for me to be able to explain to board members because this was created, I want to say, in 2014. Seriously, by our former director and a person who worked for our IT group. And they're saying, oh, well, it's an old file. It was open then, and it's still open. It's open within the 2-month time frame. It's still open. It was open before, but now we closed it, or it's a new file and it's closed now. And it's got a formula that based on the number of complaints that I go through, and it's got a starting point and how many complaints, and then it will come up with the numbers. Where it says referred to legal, this is where it ends up displaying, but these files aren't in legal, okay? There are 2 files that we received in November, between November 1st and December 31st, and they are open, they are under investigation. So that's where you see, and it says referred to legal, it would have a date if it was referred to legal, but for some reason, and I keep telling the board, the IT group, we have to kind of tweak this a little bit because it seems like I need another column because you're intruding on my referred to legal column.
Gotcha.
Because the files aren't there, because what it does when it says referred to legal, and I'll use my engineers, it shows the date that it was referred to legal. Okay. Then resolution would be, what did the investigator or legal close it as. And normally for us, it usually comes down to, is it a civil matter if they're licensed? Is it a dispute of facts? In which case, the licensed landscape architect will vehemently oppose whatever it is that the consumer said is the problem. And usually it ends up being it's about money. In which case we would close it as a civil matter. And then if they're unlicensed, then that goes to legal, or if they're licensed and there's a compliance meeting, legal makes a determination. If they want to do a settlement with legal, legal will propose some settlement, some fine, and then that information will be relayed down to you. Resolution notes are what the investigator says. The respondent, the landscape architect, is licensed. Consumer disagrees. Consumer wants money, and it's a civil matter. And then there will be in the resolution notes, you will see a statement of information. And then fines, that would be whatever fines legal did with a settlement, or it will show fines that the legal department collected after there was a final decision in order, and you as the board determined you found violations of licensing law, and you determined how much of a fine you think that person should be paying. And then legal, after the final decision in order is rendered, they will contact the person and say, here's your decision in order, here's the bill for the fine, pay it now. And then they would put it into our system and it would show up on the report. And the industry is landscape architecture. And I'm kind of still working with the IT group to say, for whatever reason, it's not picking up landscape architects to put as the industry. But that is what the report is and how we do it. But again, you wouldn't see anybody's name or any information until it was closed. Okay, any questions?
Yeah, it just seems like you need an under investigation column after maybe M. Just looking at your awesome description of exactly what this chart is, it just seems like, hey, you need another column.
Yeah, no, and
Yeah.
I keep putting information out there to try to get them. In matter of fact, I did actually use your report and sent I did a regional shot of it and said to the IT group, can you help me out? This is what I'm seeing. This is what they're going to see. And I do the same thing for the other boards. When they go, Janita, how come it says this? And I'm like, well, if I created it, I would have a better answer.
Yeah.
But I always try to tell all the boards or commissions and their members and their chair people what it is, how we get it, and what we try to do. So, and as you said before, Mr. Chairman, in the years that you and I have been doing this together, this is like the first time that we've had two at the same time.
That's the biggest question. Is that just, I know there's no details, but it is a fact that there have been two complaints that are under investigation between
Yes, sir.
November and that's okay. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
That's
Yes.
okay.
No, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the explanation. That was big.
No, you're quite welcome. And the spreadsheet, when it comes, is in a PDF format. So when you open it, if you go down to the little magnifying glasses, you can increase the font, and then you can use the scroll bar at the bottom to push it
There you go.
side to side and up and down.
Awesome.
Perfect. All right.
But yes, two. Yes.
That was a very good explanation. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Mr. Chairman, are there any other questions for you or your board members?
I have none. Janice, Dom, Maureen?
No, thank you.
You're quite welcome. Then
Thank you for your
Mr. Chair, You're quite welcome. Then, Mr. Chairman, board members, I'm going to wish you to have a very good day.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Thanks, Janita.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, learned something new today. That's awesome. Good way to start.
Yeah.
Okay, item number 4, old business, Yukon Landscape Architectural Visit. I don't have anything scheduled, but I plan on having something scheduled like we did last spring. So I will get on that one. Hopefully we'll have an update. If I do have an update prior to our next meeting, which it probably will be, I will just send via email. But I think it was Dom and Maureen and I that went out last spring. Janice, we're going to try to work on your schedule because I just think it'd be awesome to have you.
I'd like to go.
Great. Item number 5, 5A, we actually have no new applications to review or vote on for individual licensure. But as you can see in the agenda, there are, 6 applications by waiver. And they are a smattering of other states. There's no Don, we always like to see where they're coming from, but there's interesting. One is from Massachusetts, as we very seldom get any reciprocity from Mass, but there is one there.
That's good.
I'll
And we
dive
don't
in
have
for
to-
a second.
Joe, go ahead.
I have 8 pending applications that are all incomplete. So I wrote to people. I had a lot of communication back and forth. I even now I'm still refreshing Clark's website a lot, hoping that something will get over to me because I know there's some time in between you all meeting. So I was hoping something would come in, but unfortunately that's where everything stands. There actually are a handful who have passed the exam and I just need everything over, and yeah.
So what you're saying is look out for our next meeting because
Yeah, I mean, it won't be terrible, but yeah, this was unusual to not have actually have everything in yet. So, and everyone I was hearing back from, it was just unfortunate timing where they requested it, but very recently, and it just hasn't come over yet. So,
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for coordinating on those.
You're welcome.
5C, again, no action we need to take as a board, but it's nice to see the applications for corporate practice. GZA, Haley Ward. And then 5D is an item that we added to our agenda because it has been a discussion topic. And we had said back in November that this is something that I think the board should continue to talk about. As far as when I say made a comment earlier in the meeting that we operate kind of at a disadvantage because we get applicants for licensure that are applying for their initial licensure through Connecticut that have met the 3 E's, education, experience, and exam. However, our regulation, and Dom's much better at this than I am, our regulation or statute is pretty clear in saying that once you have your education and your experience, you have to apply to the board to get permission to sit for the exam. So we have been dealing this way as far as long as I've been on the board, as long as Dom's been on the board. But it's technically puts our board in a weird position because in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I don't think we should be holding up people's licenses if they meet the experience of the state of Connecticut, pass the exam, and have the education, but yet we are sometimes put in that weird situation. So I don't know. A question that I had was on other boards that I sit on, every once in a while, we do a straw poll, which really doesn't carry any merit, except for it kind of gets a straw poll of the board to potentially give our staff some direction on, is this something we want to push a little bit further to straighten some things out? Meaning, do we actually look to modify regulation or statute? And, then now we're getting into legislative approval and all kinds of stuff. But to me, again, my opinion, it's does it make any sense to think about ways to streamline our regulation to remove the need for an applicant to come before the board when they have their education and experience and request permission to take the exam? That's just one idea. And I would love, and then we can open this up for discussion because we wanted to keep this as an agenda item. This isn't going away. We're going to continue to talk about it. And I don't think we're going to solve anything today, but I think it's good for a discussion. So as the chair, I wanted to put it out there, and I'd love to get some feedback, straw poll to say, does that make any sense? How does the existing board members, the four of us, feel about, is that something we would like to do? Or is there a strong opinion that no? I think that education and experience coming to the board and asking permission to sit for the exam is really something that we should keep as a board. So, my opinion is, we're not trying to restrict licensure of landscape architectures if they meet the general requirements. Right now, I feel like we're restricting it because of procedure, and I'm 100% on board with Dom. We were given the procedure that we have to follow legally right now. I'm just wondering, should we think about taking the steps to modify it? So I'll open it up and just, Dom, I know this is a main point of yours, so I feel free.
I would look for other opinions first. I think my opinion is I'm impartial both ways. I can see the positives and negatives to both ways of doing it. I don't think we should grant licensure until after the 2 years. So even if they pass the test, they gotta have some real world experience before. It's the third leg, and a lot of people make changes in their life and things like that. I don't want a barrier to practice. I think there's positives and negatives, but I think the 2 years, frankly, of a lot of licenses I hold, 2 years is the minimum requirement before you can become licensed or sit before that license. We have been setting precedent in the past, and I'm concerned because we have alternative paths to licensure in terms of certificate programs for the educational. I mean, I would be more stringent on either a certified or I'm drawing a blank on the terminology at the present time, but like the actual landscape architecture degrees within that. Also, obviously taking the exam, they can sit for the exam, that's fine. I'm impartial either way. I've kind of been worn down on that a little bit. My original opinion was stick to what we have. In terms of opening up the actual license itself, we open ourselves up to, and this is personal, we open ourselves up to other attacks in terms of we are providing health, safety, and welfare to the public as the way we're licensed in the state of Connecticut. And it would offset with other alternative paths to licensure and possibly individuals or organizations that want to exploit that. So we want to make sure that we stay on the path for protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the state. Obviously this is a short session this year, so if you want to do something, you should probably be doing it in a long session where individual standard bearers can bring that to the legislature. But we can also set precedent by, I don't know, we can't really change the way in which DCP is administering or interpreting the law. I don't know. I'm open either way.
Maureen, go ahead.
I'll agree. I agree with the 2-year stipulation. I think that's important for protection of the public and just getting legs under somebody who's new to the field. I think that's an important piece of it. Maybe a hybrid action in some way. Yeah, I'm a little on the fence on that, but I agree with the 2 years before licensing. And unfortunately, I have to run. So that's my swan song.
Okay.
Thank
you, Maureen.
All right. Thanks. See you. When's the next meeting?
Hold on, I can tell you. Hold on. I can tell
May
you right
19th.
now. May 19th. Yep.
See you then.
Bye.
Or before, if we get up to Yukon before.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Janice.
So I may not remember, but I'm confused as to whether or not actual people who want to sit for the exam have come before us before they
Very,
sit for the
very, they
exam.
have. The quick answer is
Right.
they have, but I want to say that the majority, if we had 10 candidates, I don't know, 2 or 3 may come and ask permission to sit for the exam.
Right.
The other ones have just showed up with, and for the record, I'm not saying, I wholeheartedly agree with 2 years of experience. And this board, even if, hypothetically, even if we were to remove the need for an applicant to come before the board to sit for the permission to sit for the exam, this board has every right to still critique the experience and ask questions and ask for further experience and education and ask for further information. And if this board hypothetically still was not comfortable, it's our decision to agree or not agree with the education or the experience. We can't not agree with the exam. Either they pass it or they don't pass it. But it just removes that weird situation that's happening, to your point, Janice, that people are coming to us for initial licensure with all 3 of the requirements.
So I feel that if we put ourselves in a position where we have to then question them, that creates a dynamic that I'm not sure we would want to have as a board. If they don't follow the criteria, I think either the criteria is not clearly stated enough, or they need to follow the criteria. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, there are so many issues come into play here, right? In that the difficulty of achieving a license has to stay a process, otherwise it becomes meaningless, right?
Yep.
So, if they can't follow the rules to get here, that's an issue. And I think that the younger students that I'm seeing and that apply, and there's a whole range of lack of experience and understanding. Maybe they were in college during COVID or whatever, but it's like the seriousness of this doesn't seem to be the way it was 10 years ago. Let's put it that way. And I would like to see, I mean, as you all know, it was difficult for me, and it made it more important, and it made it more of a significant achievement. I know that, let's say, Cho in my office, who sat for it, I don't think she did come before us to ask to sit for it, and I don't quite understand or remember.
I echo the sentiment. It happens all the time with me too. It's like, oh my God, how many times can you say it?
And it's, I mean, we're a legal entity. I mean, if that's the right word to be using, Rochelle, but but this is a legal licensing board for the health, safety, and welfare. And I think it's part of people following protocols, following rules. Maybe they feel they're outdated, but it's still a process. And I wouldn't want to be in a position where if someone passed the exam and we're questioning, have they worked long enough? Are they any good at their job? And I couldn't agree more with Dominic, and I'm sure you feel the same way, that I mean, I get people working for me, and I mean, it's going to take 3 years till they're cracking, or at least 18 months, right? They don't know what they're doing, and they pass the exam very well. And they have absolutely no idea that they're walking into liability and to contractual issues. I see it more on that. They're fine at the actual sort of mechanics to a degree, no real life experience, but they can draw, they can grade, but they have no idea what the profession is.
So I guess just for discussion purposes, that is I agree with you, but if they get their experience signed off on and they meet the 2-year requirement of the 2-year experience, whether or not they're ready or not, we would not carry judgment on that, because it really is the person signing off on their experience
Exactly.
should take
Correct.
the
And
ethics of saying
we
you're
have to
not ready
remember
yet.
where the way the licensure works is it's minimal competency in 3 areas:
Yeah.
Right,
education, testing, and experience.
Yeah.
right.
And if those are the minimal it's minimal. It's 2 years of practicing
Yep.
under the direct direction of a landscape architect. And I want to expand it anyway because, and Rachel, I hope you're paying attention. You know, we give a hand wave to the method of licensing for waivers from other states. However, is it contrasted against our 3 principles? Obviously, they passed the exam. Obviously, like I don't know in Montana, which we have one on here. I think MT is
I know.
Montana. Do they require 2 years or more? Like I'm hoping we probably do that check and balance because let's say we have another state where they can practice, take the exam, get their license, and you know they've got 1.5 years of experience, and then we're not doing our due diligence to our state's mandatory 2 years.
Yeah, I think, and Rochelle may be able to, I don't know, but I'm
Sorry, Rochelle.
pretty sure that 2 years is the minimum. I think the
Correct.
biggest challenge is there's still states that have alternative methods, which Connecticut used to have alternative ways via years of experience. There are definitely still states that have, if you work 8 years, you don't need the education.
Correct me if
8,
I'm
10
wrong. We have 2 years as a minimum for someone who comes through with a degree in landscape architecture from accredited institution. It's 4
Correct.
for all the other offshoots.
Correct. Correct.
I
But
had to
like I
have
said,
20 years when
The
I
other
went up in
question-
front of Hartford. I had to
And
have
we're-
20 and
And when we're
letters.
talking about the licensure process and the statutory discussion,
Yeah.
there are a couple other factors that I want to dive into. One of which, and Rochelle, you might want to listen to this, is right now our requirements are such that we register every year. Is there an appetite for turning that into a 2-year process rotation based on our review of CEUs? So when you license, a lot of other states are moving to a 2-year model in terms, and that might be just statutory, where I would imagine it would cut down on paperwork, but you go to that 2-year rotational where you're paying for 2 years. One, you don't have to renew every year. You pay the 2 years. And that's why I'm very concerned with the Senate bill, because the Senate bill looks like they're trying to eliminate that, which I believe is as a means, and this is purely me, not as a board member.
Mhm.
I look at it as a means of deregulation in some respect, because now DCP is going to lose that funding source, be it minimal or not, in terms of the licensure or the certification. But then it's like, okay, well, why are we certifying if we're not getting money in order to do the process? So, could there be a 2-year rotation on that? I don't know.
So are you referring to what we discussed? They want to dissolve fees
Yes.
at the beginning of
Yeah.
the meeting? Okay.
I mean,
That's crazy.
that's basically turns licensure into an unfunded mandate for the DCP, because they're not getting any sort of recourse for administrative privilege at that point in order to process licensure. But I'm saying on the flip side, could there be an undertow to move to a multi-year licensing agreement where, and I'll use it for instance, I don't remember which one, it might be Rhode Island, is every 2 years. They license every 2 years. That way it takes some of the burden off of the constant year licensure.
Mhm.
You can charge a little more, obviously, but that way you're not having to regenerate this every year. And it could make it a lot easier, streamline the process of understanding your CEUs, which I get. That's the biggest question I get from landscape architects is when's my cutoff? And I think this year we were good. There was an email that went out that said, hey, listen, or the last time it said, this is when I keep up on my CEU. Some people don't, but at least there's a reminder that, oh, my licensure is coming up. I know I've got my CEUs. I got to make sure I have them, type of thing. Just a thought.
Yeah.
I mean, the word deregulation is, sort of a hot button right there,
Yep.
because
Always
once you
is.
open up to no fees, then you open, like, I agree with you, Dominic, then you open to it just being eliminated later as they continue.
I always look at
streamline.
it as health, safety, and welfare 70%, 80% of the population, including Connecticut, still thinks licensure is a good, or certifications are a good cause to ensure there are checks and balances to make sure that what we're doing in the long term does not affect those three items.
Great.
And at the end product, it gives our residents and our body of people within the state a level of that there is an establishment of a certain criteria, and likewise for CEUs, continuing to educate our professional staff, occupational staff, that they're staying up on what's, we all been in the industry long enough to understand what we did 20 years ago. We're not doing. We've pivoted in certain aspects to make sure we're keeping up with new regulations, new issues in the environment, new issues in design, to make sure that we're doing it in a safe and efficient manner.
So I'm so glad that we're actually having open discussion on this. Is there, Maggie or Rochelle, can you guys give us, I mean, you heard our discussion, I think you feel our pain points. This isn't the first time we've talked about it. Can you give us any feedback on, should we ask for DCP legal to attend our next meeting? Do we try to get some points together or off to them to say, hey, this is what this board is thinking about? The one big one I always have is the minute we open something up, we allow some other people to come in, and that dreaded word of deregulation or sunset does come into play, but operating as we have been doing just doesn't feel right. Like it doesn't, like it puts us in a weird position more oftentimes than not. So I don't know, can our staff lend anything to this to see how we somehow move towards a resolution? Maybe the resolution is we end up, the best thing to do is stay functioning how we're functioning, but I would like to have some legal understanding on if that's the right way to go.
I also think that like we did invite them in once, and then they went away and did some nuance that wasn't really
I agree.
Wasn't articulated back to us, which actually had a lot of backlash from the landscape architecture body when they went like, I'm not saying we go after do anything legislative, but we need to have an open conversation to understand, A, why is their interpretation of the existing law the way it is?
Yeah.
B, do we all think it's correct? Yeah. And then C, how can we mitigate that? And we can bring some of these other items up to them to say, has there been a consideration with the DCP to do X, Y, and Z for either cost saving measures or whatnot? Like I said, I just know about the proposed bill because I monitor for any sort of threat to licensure. There's two different threats to licensure. We could also bring up the comment of right now our investigation unit investigates landscape architects, whereas our law is written as a state law. And as such, there's no checks and balances in terms of a municipality that is giving a barrier to practice currently. And how do we mitigate that situation where you've got certain municipalities in the state of Connecticut that do not recognize landscape architecture to perform certain aspects of a site design, even though the law states they can.
Yeah.
So that was something I would ask for as well.
But before we go, that last 60 seconds, Dom, I think summarized. I'm trying to make sure Rochelle and Maggie have a sort of a checklist. You gave 3 points there, and then you added onto it. I think as far as those 3 points that Dominic just said a little earlier are maybe good things to put in front of DCP legal to say, hey, this is what the board is discussing, and they'd like some feedback. You summarized it very well, Dom. Sorry, Janice.
Yeah, I would just wonder what the engineers and the architects are doing with this same issue.
I don't think they have the same issue. I mean, I swim in a couple of different channels because I'm actually on an ACSE subcommittee, and I obviously we work with AIA a lot. I don't think there's ever questions like on that last point. I don't think there's ever questions about an engineering or an architecture license in a community. There is questions on our license. Yeah. There's no question on a survey license. Yes. We've had them brought before us before, and there's no mechanism for enforcement rather than just us writing a letter stating that
I would agree with
municipality. As for their licensure issues, I know like The civil engineers in the state of Connecticut do not require CEUs. We require CEUs. The architects require CEUs. I don't know what the surveyors do. Surveyors by nature stay up on codes and regulations just because they produce legal maps, which are different than the one-time drawings that we produce. And then in terms of, their investigations, I don't, honestly, it's going to sound bad. I don't care. They're investigating themselves. They're self-regulating. And this goes all back to also the other point I had is, filling our board. If we have a robust board, that we prove like we're doing our job protecting the citizens of the state of Connecticut. So we've got to fill those positions.
Okay, Rochelle, we gave you a lot of stuff here. I think it's gonna have to review the meeting, the recording to get some talking points, but I'd love to get it down to a few bulleted points that come out of each of these discussions, and then potentially put it in front of, DCP legal people to say, hey, this is what the board's working on. They're doing their job. They're trying to protect health, safety, and welfare. And regulation, but they really need some feedback. We're trying to do the right thing. I mean, that's
and I think to circle back on that is we're not asking for any action to take place until we have a discussion. And then even then it should be almost a motion by us to this is kind of what we'd like to see rather than, we're going to review it and push through something that may not be appropriate or may not be necessary.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can provide this information to both CJ, our legislative liaison, and to the legal department, and they'll be able to provide some clarification. I will say that if we have concerns about the legal side of things for your board, I would recommend you reach out to your guys' attorney with the AG. I believe it's Rosemary Weber. And I can look for that contact information. I know, excuse me, CJ put on a legislative info session last month that kind of went into a little bit of the process. And I think there was contact information for Rosemary in there too. So I'll send an email after the meeting with that info too. That might kind of help with some of the questions, but I will also make sure that this goes to the appropriate staff on our side too.
Thank you. And you
Thank
can,
you.
when you send it out, you can send it out to, the board. It doesn't just have to go to me. I have no problem with everybody getting it.
And
No problem.
circling back to the waiver of examination, when we're doing the waivers for alliance states and commonwealths and whatnot, there's a process that it would be interesting, not for this, but this is what the process is for what do we do in terms of when these things come in for an exam waiver. They come in from CLARB, but we want to make sure that is there a checklist that's done that says, okay, they've got the exam. I've done it, so I've gone to a different state and said, okay, I've submitted my letter from CLARB. I've got the examination. I've got the years of experience. My biggest thing is just making sure that when we issue these waivers, that we're doing it and it make sure they have the minimal competency. They took the exam. And we can start to put caveats on there. Well, they took the exam. I'll use a Massachusetts, for instance. Or no, that's not a good one. Rhode Island, for instance. We know they had the experience, but maybe they took the exam prior to the 2 years experience. But do they have the 2 years experience? Did they get the license within 18 months and they immediately went out and they're trying to get Connecticut at the same time? I'm sure that's being covered, but I just want to make sure that we understand that process. Because at the end of the day, it's administrative, but at the end of the day, they're still licensed in the state of Connecticut. And if I outstep my bounds by any means, tell me. I like to make sure I understand the processes of what we're doing.
And that can be something that we, if you need to look at research it and, give us a little, hey, this is exactly how reciprocity works and what we do. We either rely solely on CLARB. We can talk about it in the next meeting.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. Okay. Good discussion. I can't wait to see the draft meeting minutes and the agenda for next month. It should be good. Item number 6, correspondence. I don't know if we had anything. Rochelle, did we have anything additional?
Nope, nothing from me.
Okay. Any item number 7, comments or concerns of any person present today?
I have one thing I'd like to bring up. And I could be off the record, but my business manager and accountant bookkeeper of 23 plus years retired, and I was busy trying to fill all the holes, and I had not entered my CEUs. I am reinstated because I had them, but I hadn't done the paperwork. And so I get the seriousness of this. You know, it's really easy to not do it. I pay for everyone who works for me, who's everyone's licensed. I pay them the full day, you know, whatever, if they're
Mhm.
going to get CEUs. I mean, I make sure that people will get them, even if they're not at work. But in my own case, I didn't do the paperwork. So I just wanted you to know that.
No,
Yep,
it's real. It's
I put a
It's
recommendation into ASLA that they should have a devoted, updated area where people can capture a lot of these CEUs, because we had the same discussion internally as well with my company about capturing them. I go to one event and I try to get all of them done at one event. So
Yeah.
I go to, there's a bunch of them. It's travel time, but it's either New Jersey ASLA. The southern states have combined. Now there's the Southern State ASLA conference. There's the national, obviously, which is expensive.
There's no
Um,
excuse. It's available. You know,
yeah,
I get
Mhm.
notices all the time, and the people who work for me are always doing it. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, we can't give an employer's policy about making sure their
Yeah.
employees can get their CEUs
Yep.
without
Right.
getting docked at work. But, you know, I pay for the exam, I pay for all of it. So, I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
no,
responsibility of the employer, right?
Mhm.
And then there I go, you know, missing it. But I just wanted to log that in. I'm
Yeah.
painfully aware of you know, and it should, and I it should be this way.
Yeah.
and we are, of some of the states, we are very liberal with our CEUs. Some other states are very analytical. New
New
Hampshire's got
Hampshire.
14.
Yeah.
Texas, you have to have a certain amount of accessibility credits. There are other ones out there that are very more stringent than we are, but um, I feel the LACES program was a godsend, because most of it goes into covered under health, safety, and welfare, and
Yep.
you can track them that way, which is good.
Yeah. No, and I think I don't know because I don't do the research. You know, the people who work for me do, but it seems like there's an enormous amount of availability, and
There
that's
is.
something that we want to make clear on our website too. You know, I think CTASLA is pretty clear on them. But it's not difficult to do, you
Yep.
know.
And also, being on this board, you could actually utilize them as CEUs.
Yeah. But at the
I
same time, you know, it's what can I say? The rules are not to be broken.
correct.
You know, despite what's happening all over all of our different parts of our country, you know, we've got to follow the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point, Janice. Thank you for bringing it up. If we don't have anything else today, we're at a little over an hour. I'm glad we spent 25% of it talking about some important things. And I look forward to keeping that on the agenda and trying to figure out ways that we can move forward and get some good, potentially legal advice on how to move forward. The big things are, if you have any candidates for filling the landscape architectural open position right now on our board, please get them to Rochelle. And then public members as well. And then Rochelle, you're going to do your due diligence, just trying to check with Tom to see, hey, we have two. We definitely have a public member vacancy. We definitely have a landscape architectural licensed member vacancy. And I think if you could send an email to Sigrund and say, this meeting and the last meeting was basically, you have one more chance. Please give us a written that you're still interested in the position.
Yeah, we'd love to
And
have them cover.
yeah, if you don't, if she doesn't attend our May meeting, we're going to take that as we have to fill that position. I think we'll give her one
Yes.
more shot. And that's how we're going to deal with that one.
And I will just send you the dates that I know. There's a garden
Well, please
symposium
do.
that I have to do. And then there's a couple of other things that are coming up in the spring. Just for Yukon, what month are you thinking?
April.
March?
It's usually
April?
April because
April.
May gets too
Okay.
crazy. So it's the
Okay.
beginning of April.
And that's on a weekend, correct? Or is it during the
No,
week?
that's on a weekday.
A weekday. Okay,
a weekday. Their professional practice class was at 9:30, 10 o'clock last time,
Okay.
something like that.
all right. All right, that should, most of these events and symposiums are on the weekends, so that's good.
Great.
It wouldn't get in the way. If there is a blackout, couple of dates, I'll
Send
just
them.
email
Yeah,
it.
just get them
Yeah,
to me because
yeah,
over the
okay.
next week or so. I
How
wanna reach
soon are
out
we
to them.
gonna figure out that date?
I would say within the next couple weeks. I'd like to say 2 weeks. Because
Right.
they're gonna want to set it on their course curriculum and give us the time. I
Terrific.
reserved it last fall, so hopefully it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, terrific.
All right. Okay, so we are at 10:27 a.m. I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Aye. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.